Hey guys, it's Babon, and I finally got this finished, and so is the entire thing. I'm going to try and talk through most of this and explain what I'm doing, but you know it is a good like half-hour video, so I'll try my best. Yeah, so you can see me working on the sketch here and messing about with how I think I'm gonna get the composition to work. And what I did with this was I did it on 3 separate layers, so like foreground, midground, background, and it was I had the concept beforehand, and that was just like a really small, tiny little scribble to figure out what I wanted to do, which I think pops up in a minute. I leave it up for a second so you can see it, but with this I did the sketch on 3 different layers, and then I sort of moved them around to get everything in the right place so that it worked well, because when you're doing like a big landscape, you don't want to put where the horizon line is right in the middle, because that always makes it seem like really dull. You either want it quite high up or really low down, and on this one, because I want to be able to see across everything, I made it a bit higher up. Yeah, that's just a general rule that if you're doing landscape stuff, you want to keep it away from, you want to keep the horizon away from the middle. And with a lot of this I am being sort of vague-ish. The stuff that's further forward I'm being a bit more distinct with, because I know that's going to be a lot more defined because it needs to be, because that's more the main focus on where people are going to be looking at, and then into the background it just gets a bit more vague because I end up going and figuring the rest of that out after in the actual painting, because when you're doing this kind of thing you don't have to go and make a completely finished sketch if you don't want to. You can just block everything out basically where it is enough so you can understand it, and then leave the rest so that you can just clear it up in the painting, which can be fun because it gives you a bit more freedom to mess about with the actual painting. And something I like to do as well, I've done it, is use an airbrush to just put in a new layer, and then I'll put in all the lights where I'm going to have like the main light source and where all the highlights are going to be around everything, and where the main blocks of light are going to be, because you don't just want to think about composition with the sketch and the shapes that you use, and you want to think about how the light's hitting everything, because that can completely change the composition. Because if I had all the light off to the side or behind everything instead of in front of it off in the distance, it'd sort of throw it off. It wouldn't end up looking as good as having everything backlit. Yeah, and like I said, now I just didn't bother to clean up the sketch because I just thought I'll just start painting it, because I was doing a lot of this on a stream and I wanted to make it interesting and not boring to watch. So I just started slapping colours about. I got a couple of reference photos there, and I was sort of thinking about those colours while I was doing it. So I slapped down a load first, and then I went and redid the lighting and what I was thinking about that, just so it was a bit clearer before I actually started painting. I will probably talk about what I'm thinking about Zelda after, like, the actual game. There's going to be plenty of me rendering after, so I'll talk about the art now, but yeah. Slapping down colours, just making a mess. I think I did this in all different layers, like the same as the sketch as well, so that everything was clear. I had a lot of trouble with the sky though, because I didn't know how to do it, but I figured it out in the end. I got a habit of making everything either too saturated or too muddy, and I can't find a good balance, or I'm struggling to find a good balance, but the more I paint, the more I'll figure it out. You can see it looks really messy, but that's half the fun. It's half the fun making it messy when you're starting out, because you get to play around with the colours. It's a bit more interesting than when you start rendering it, if you go into rendering it. Yeah, what I'm thinking here though is, with the colours, when you've got like a big distance, everything sort of fades out as it goes into the distance. Like, the more space there is, it's like if you've got fog, everything sort of becomes paler as it goes because of the atmosphere in between it, or well, the fog, but when there's no fog there's still like the atmosphere in between and everything fades out as it goes further back. But with this, because the sun's behind everything, there's also quite a bit of shadow behind the mountains and stuff, so trying to account for both of those. But yeah, generally if the sun was hitting the landscape from above and you were looking out over it, everything would fade out as it got further away. And I'm also, because I know the light's going to be more yellowish, I've got more yellowish highlights and bluer shadows, so you can see in the grass at the front I've got sort of emerald green colours for the shadows and more mossy colours for the highlights, or where the light's going to be hitting it more. And yeah, I'm not very good with colours, so everything is, like I say, really muddy, but I usually end up tweaking stuff with the colour sliders and stuff. Like you can see I'm doing it now, trying to get everything to sort of work better, because I don't know, I seem to struggle with like contrast and stuff. Though something you can do to help with that anyway when you're doing render drawings like these is go and add in lines, but not really obnoxiously as though you're adding in line art or something, but like where there's shadows and stuff, like maybe darken them a little bit more just to define things so they don't blend in as much when it's zoomed out. And you can see me going and checking the contrast by changing all the layers to grey. I don't know how you do that in other programs, but there's a way of doing it in Manga Studio. Yeah, once you've blocked in all the shapes though, it just gets more into noodling and stuff. What I like to do is pretty much how the style of the game is anyway, even though my like art style isn't that much like it. It's more like cel shaded, so I'll go and block in all the colours and then add in bounce lights and stuff, which is something I'll talk about later. But yeah, I'll usually try and go for mid-tones or shadows or highlights, or whichever is going to be more prominent in what it is that I'm drawing, or whatever part of the thing that I'm drawing. And what I'll do if I think I'm going to screw something up is I'll duplicate the layer and then mess around with a duplicated one, and then if I screw it up I can always just delete it and go back to what I had already, because I ended up doing that with the clouds later when I start going and cleaning them up a bit more. But I didn't have to go and delete it because it ended up looking okay. It was just, if you're struggling, it's nice to be able to just have something to mess about with and not worry about having to go and redo everything. Yeah, now I'll go with a noodle in here now. See, I'm blocking everything out there, and then I start zooming in and blocking everything out. And the thing with rendering is what you can do is I have everything pretty zoomed out and just block colours in. And then once you've got the colours, you can just zoom in a little bit more, clean everything up as much as you can see. Zoom in a little bit more, keep cleaning it up, and then zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and clean up more and more. And you can go and zoom in and render as much as you can, but I intended to go and render this as much as I could at first, but then I got a bit fed up of it. Probably because it's a big background and it's like building stuff, which is not what I'm used to, so I don't really enjoy going and rendering it as much. So it sort of just turned into a painting, but because it was so big, I did go and clean it up quite a lot, so when everyone sees it scaled down a little bit, it's gonna look alright. Now, I'd spent too long on it already and I wanted to go and well, I wanted to stop so I could go and draw instead of spending ages painting it. Yeah, this is where the noodling starts, so you can see it's just adding in loads of little details now and making everything look just nice. Which, like I say, you could spend forever on. That's like 90% of all the work in a painting. Never mind the drawing. Yeah, you can see the way I've sort of blocked all the colours out first in like a more cel shaded style, so I know where everything is, and then I go and add in any differentiation. I can't think of any good words. It's too hot in here. Jesus Christ! I've had to switch my fan off because recording, but it's warm and it's bad. Yeah, this still looks pretty terrible at this point because I'm a bit bad at colours, but you can sort of see what I'm trying to do, and it ends up not as bad, but yeah, I need to figure out colours bad, and I struggle with colours. Yeah, like I say, it's because I've just been drawing for the past God knows how long. I haven't really done much painting in months. Yeah, wow, who's excited for this game though? I know I am. Like, especially after Skyward Sword, because that was pretty, yeah, I'm in the camp that was not a fan of that. Looks like we're going to get a bit more of the old kind of fun where you just go and run around and find random stuff rather than knowing what you're going to find in each dungeon you go in and then knowing you're going to fight the boss with it, and that gets a bit repetitive and boring after a while, and I don't know, like the option of either following the story or just going on a mad rampage and burning everything it's good. As I've been whinging about though, I'm quite disappointed that I can't name him, because it's traditional in this household to name Link Nobby. He was never Link to me, he was Nobby because, you know, my dad play A Link to the Past and he, you know, name Link Nobby, and that's what his name was. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that I won't be able to run around as like Nobby the half-naked hero of Hyrule, just running around burning shit. I did have a weird dream about it the other week though, because I think I was thinking about it too much, and what with being able to swap weapons and stuff, I had this weird dream where I was like fighting Ganon, but like he had the Master Sword and I had to like get it off him, because like what with all the swapping weapons, my brain must have been like, yo, what if that was like a possibility? Because I think that would make for like an interesting fight. Even though it makes no sense and it probably won't happen, it'd be an interesting thing to see. You know what, with the Master Sword being all rusty, I didn't even think it was rust at first because it looked a bit weird on the concept art. I was like, is there bandages around it? Did they go all like Sonic Boom with the art? How would that work though? I mean, could Ganon even pick up the Master Sword, or would that like screw him up, or is it just the actual blade bit? Because it'd be cool if he could like pick it up and try and fight you with it. And with the art style, they have gone really like anime looking, but it really reminds me of Ghibli, and not just because of the art style, but you got all these like guardian things, the leggies, and like shiggity with the leggies and stuff, and the lasers, and what was the point I was making? All the like old machinery and stuff, and it's all overgrown with the grass and stuff. That's really a Ghibli thing, and it's sort of cool to see that as a Zelda thing and be able to go and run around in it. Like, it looks really nice to look at. Like the way the backgrounds look sort of painted, but the characters are more cel shaded. It's not obnoxious. It's not as obnoxious as I thought it might have been if someone had told me that was what they were going to do with it. It's quite a nice balance, and it looks a lot better than Skyward Sword did. I didn't really like Skyward Sword the way it looked, especially the characters. They looked really off. I don't know what they did to Zelda's face or Link's. I don't know, Link looked like he had lip filler or something. Ooh. I really didn't like Skyward Sword. No, I mean, as a Zelda game, knowing it's a Zelda game is unacceptable. Oh yeah, and don't forget to add in bounce lights, like onto the shadows and stuff. Like you can see on the wall here, I've got all this yellowy bounce lights. It's going to be all coming in through the window, or like the window, a hole. It just gives everything a bit more dimension, and it looks really nice. Bounce light always looks really nice. Yeah, what are you guys looking forward to doing in the game though? Like what's the first thing you want to try out when you get your grubby little paws on it? I mean, the obvious answer is go and burn everything in sight, but if we assume burn everything and run around in the nip is the obvious first choice, what's your second choice? Honestly, I just really want to wander around and look at everything, because I don't know, that's like something I always enjoy in Zelda games, is just wandering around and looking at all the scenery. But then again, part of me just wants to go and make a run for the final boss and see what happens, just to go and like assess the situation and then die and then go and explore and ready myself for it. I don't know if that's stupid or not, but I don't know if I'll end up doing that. I'll probably just get too stuck in explore and everything. But a hopeless mad dash for the final boss does seem like fun, even if it's gonna end up bad. I'm quite excited to actually see the towns as well, because there's always plenty of weird character designs in Zelda, and I just want to go and stare at them. And I want to see what Zelda looks like too, which is probably more reason to go for a mad dash for the final boss, unless Zelda's nothing to do with that, or I don't know. I mean, that's a possibility because it's sort of shaking everything up. I'm mainly just excited that it's not linear like Skyward Sword. It fucking reeks of adventure and I want in on that. Yeah, anyway, I'm still noodling and adding in little details, because noodling takes forever. Rendering, I should say rendering instead of noodling. Noodling's more of a drawing thing. And I'm gonna start adding in grass in a second. Yeah, with the grass, because I've already got the base colours down, I drop those and draw in like the lightest ones first at the front, where the light's hitting them, and then overlay them with draw the darker ones behind it or over the top of them. I think I did it on a separate layer too, so that it would so that in case I screwed it up, it was all fine and I wouldn't have to go and redraw anything that the grass had gone over. Yeah, and here, like I said, I'm just putting in outlines to define everything a bit better, because it's, it's a better way to show highlights, and it differentiates everything from the background if you give it a bit of sort of lighting around the edge. I don't know how to describe it in words, but like a bit of an outline of where the light's hitting it. It gives a more definite line of separation between that and anything behind it. I also did it with the bits of building the ruins that are in the midground, but it's not as prominent as in the foreground, because I want it to stick out more, obviously, so it's not as bright and there's not as much contrast, so it doesn't stand out as much. And it sort of sticks more to as being part of the cell shading. You can see it there. Yeah, as well with the background, because everything's more faded out because of the distance, then that's not really something you're gonna focus on as much. You're gonna focus where there's a lot more contrast, which is why it's good to flip things to grayscale and see how the contrast's working and where the main place that you look at, or where you want people to look at, needs to be more contrasted between the darks and lights of the colours of the shading that you're using, but it's also useful to make the colours more saturated. But when it comes down to it, the contrast is more powerful than just bright colours, because I've got a lot of bright colours in the sky, but the main place you're going to look at is the foreground, where there's a lot more contrast between the shadows and the highlights. And again, that's helped by how I've put the lighting around the edge of it to separate it from everything else. You guys better appreciate this video because I'm sweating buckets here. It's awful. Oh, we've got like a heat wave, and it tried to thunder the other day, but it just grumbled for a bit and then didn't do anything. I was disappointed because it would have cooled down, and I like seeing the thunder. Seeing the lightning, you can't see the thunder. God, I don't have to sound like a twit on these videos, What I found particularly annoying with this was definitely painting ruins because of straight lines and stuff. Like, I don't know, buildings are just irritating to me to draw, even though it's just a case of painting. It's just not as fun because it's usually really blocky and you don't get to do a lot of fun shapes when you're rendering it. There's not much diversity in the shapes with buildings because they are usually quite blocky, but when you do want to add in diversity to them, then you've got to make sure everything sort of lines up and makes sense, and it's a nightmare. Which is why I don't really draw them, because they get on my nerves. But like with the background, it was me trying to force myself to try and do some, because I can't just draw characters and stuff. I don't want to be the kid that just draws characters all the time, or like just characters and no backgrounds. I think somewhere around this point too, like not during this recording but in the next couple of parts, like in between, I didn't record some parts, so this isn't like every little bit, because I had to not record because it makes my computer heat up quite a bit, and it was already really hot and I didn't want to make it overheat too badly. Yeah, anyway, this is me just locking everything in, and I think, you know, it's obviously a bit off with the lines and angles and stuff, but I don't know, I'm really stubborn. I don't like using rulers and stuff, and it's really tedious to me to go and make all the angles perfect. Yeah, you can see though there's a bit more contrast coming into everything now, and it's getting a bit more clear what's foreground and what's background, because it's obviously it's not defined the background yet because I haven't gone and painted it, but you can tell by the brightness and colours that are used. And a lot of this is just me messing about. I didn't really reference all that many screenshots because there's not really that many out there yet. There's only what we've seen from E3, and I don't know, I just like to have my own take on it because I think it's a bit more fun and it makes me think more about what I'm doing rather than just trying to copy what references we've got from the actual game already. I don't know. What I don't really like though is how the background, I don't know, everything looks a lot bigger in the game, but I don't know, I think I've got trouble showing like larger distances in my stuff. I don't know, it's quite difficult. I haven't figured out quite how to do it yet. I'm sure it's just figuring out how to get everything the right size depending on how far away it is though. Though I think part of it's just my style because I like to make everything its own little like self-contained illustration that explains itself, so I sort of need everything to be seeming a bit closer so you can see everything clearly. I'm not sure if I'm just making excuses there, but I don't know, like I felt like I needed everything to be seen clearly. And yeah, now I'm starting on the background, so I think I went and cleaned stuff up a bit and added a a few more things in before I started recording again. And I really did just block everything in, like really cel shady like I did with the foreground again, but it ends up staying like that because it's like more in the distance. I don't need to go in and noodle it as much. Like, just the cel shading gets across the paint, and that's pretty much what it looks like in real life anyway, because obviously the further away it is, the less detail you can see in it, so you can get away with just blocking things in like that. And I added in more detail on the mountain, of course, because that's bigger and you will get more obvious shapes in that. Yeah, you can sort of see how it's coming together now. I think I messed about the sliders again to try and get everything a bit more contrasted so that it stands out. And then I messed about with overlays because I like my overlays a lot because it adds in more colour and lighting and like crazy gradients that would be a pain in the ass to try and put in otherwise. And while I'm messing with the overlays here, it's like before when I was adding in the lighting, like basic lighting over the sketch to figure out where everything was going to be. It's like that. I ended up deleting it later and going and redoing it as like a finished version of it. But it's, you know, it's just to test out what I'm doing, because often I'll get pretty bored with the rendering, and it just gives you a break to go ahead with something that's a bit more fun in the process, even if it's just blocking it out for later. Yeah, I didn't manage to record a lot of the painting of the background. Well, the background of the landscape, because it's much too warm. Jesus Christ, it was warm. It was like 30. I won't start complaining about the weather. Clouds. Yeah, the clouds are fun. Yeah, clouds. I don't really know how to explain the clouds. I sort of wanted to make them a bit more fluffy, but I wanted to keep sort of in my style so it'd fit with the rest. So I've got fun little swirlies going on in them. I like swirly clouds. Yeah, but oh my god, it's really hot. It's really warm here, and we don't have air conditioning over here, and my room keeps all the heat, and it's bad. Yeah, when it was not really sure if it was going to thunder or not, I was sat in the front window waiting for it to do something and staring at the clouds thinking, oh, I'm going to end up painting clouds after, so best I'd have a good look at them now. And I figured, like, when the light's hitting them from behind, you'll see the dark of them, and the light that's coming from behind sort of bounces around inside them, and it'll light up the thicker clouds that it won't come through, so you'll just see the edge of them lit up. So I did a lot of that inside them, making them look really fluffy, and just the main chunk of them highlighted underneath. And I had all of them in one big like smear across the sky, but it all looks like it's quite far back, so I went in after and added in more that are closer and a bit darker, so that there's a bit more indication of space with them. I think this is after I went and added in the final overlays as well that I was gonna keep, so everything's a bit brighter and more colourful, and it gives more of the gradients with the light and stuff. And I went and added in mist and a couple of other details, and I think there's a bit more of me. Yeah, I'm going and cleaning that up a bit now. And I think that I did go look at a few references and saw there was like a few more textures on things, so I tried to go and add those in to make it, at least a bit more like the actual game's gonna look. And I left painting link till last because I know, once I drew him, or painted him I'd get bored with everything else, so I left him till last. And nice swooshy shit around the castle. I like drawing swirly shapes. I know it was a lot more sort of, I'm not sure, it wasn't as solid looking as I've drawn it, but I like drawing swooshy shapes like that, flowy shapes. So I don't know, it's sort of style exploration as well, I suppose. Swooshy shapes and cloud swirls. And then I just went and finished off everything on Link, who looks a bit awkward, but I don't know, he's not really like a huge part of it, so it doesn't matter that much. I don't know, I was just trying to have fun. And yeah, I think this is near enough done now. I'm just adding in little details to finish it off. Paint his hair. His hair was a pain in the ass to paint. It took me a while to figure it out, which is dumb because I'm usually pretty alright at doing hair. Well, I'm getting a bit better at it, I don't know. Yeah, that's near enough done. Anyway, I'll leave links to me other videos, links. I'll be selling this as like prints and stuff on Redbubble, so I'll leave a link to that in the description and to all my other stuff as well. Thanks for watching, I hope it helped. Bye 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 bye. Oh yeah, here's the finished thing too. Bye.